This absolutely did more damage than I expected it to do, truthfully, to this deer. Just look at this. He definitely got, there's no doubt this deer died last night. I can see him up here right now. Right. Big buck right here. I smoked him, dude! I wasn't expecting that this morning at all. I get jacked up a little bit here. Right. Big buck right here. Oh my gosh! That's a beast of an 8. Can't believe what just happened. I can't believe that. That's so much fun. Ooh, yeah. Let's destroy her. Shot the deer. And then you drop him. Just like that. He was another 12 yards. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Lord. Hi, I'm Ben Rising and welcome to Whitetail Edge. This week, you're going to be following me as I'm hunting in Ohio. So as my season has come along, I had an epic, 4-day run between Illinois and Kansas. Killed 2 really great big deer within 3 days. Now I'm back to Ohio and I got my sights set on a couple different deer. So I transitioned to another farm that's closer to home and I got a deer on this farm. We call it the Big 8. And he's a monster 8-pointer. And I felt really confident that I could get on this deer. And I had another deer there that, I called him Claw. And I was like, I'd shoot that deer too. He's a big deer. And then there's this Big 8. They're both on the same farm. So I'm going to put my efforts into this farm. And in the back of my mind, I knew that I had another deer there from the year before that had huge brow tines. He was a giant brow tine buck. But he was younger. He was 4.5. We passed him up that year. And, Tanner was filming me that year. He come through the standing corn, comes right to us, and I let him walk. I'm like, that deer's going to be a giant. Nice to see deer like that, but we're still waiting. Hopefully Pitchfork shows up here. And then all of a sudden I start getting pictures of this big brow tine buck. And I'm like, he's still really not the deer I want to shoot. Something, I could tell that something was wrong. He was weak on the side. He had giant brows. His other side became good, and his other side was weak, and he kicked a drop tine down. I'm like, man, he really must have get wounded the year before because, he should be bigger. I have to wear orange. But anyways, I snuck in here today. Well, I didn't really sneak in here. I came in here on my tractor, and I'm put another stand up in a spot because the wind's totally wrong for where I was at yesterday. So I moved a stand in here into a leafy little white oak tree, and I'm clear at the other end of this field. And he hung around a lot right in this spot yesterday. And I think I found where he's coming up out of this bedding area into this field, I think. I'm not positive. But it's really windy today. Super windy. And this tree's shaking. It's not a real big tree. But I had to make do with what I had to work with here. Because there's no way I can penetrate in there. But as soon as I step in that woods, they're gone. So I have to hunt this edge. I have to hope he comes back out tonight. I got this covered in real good, I feel pretty confident. I just got to get him to walk out here where I can get a shot. I mean, this is a big field. You know, it's 350, 400 yards long, you know, so he can come out anywhere in this field, but all the sign and scrapes are on this edge. I just feel at some point through the night, he's going to walk into this dip right here, and I might be able to get a crack at him, so I'm just going to do the best I can. If it's meant to be, it's going to happen. It's Thanksgiving Day, and you know, I've got this big 8-point peg to where he's at for the time being. You know, I had an encounter with him one evening with a whole group of does, and I just couldn't pull him from that whole group of does. He just wouldn't leave him. He wouldn't come close enough for a shot, and I've passed a lot of bucks. And you know, I told my wife on Thanksgiving Day, I'm like, look, I said, everything is right. I have to hunt today. I said, I know I'm going to see this deer. I'm going to see him early in the day. You know, just the weather pattern was right. It had been kind of nasty for a few days, and then we started getting this high pressure system. The wind was windy, you know, for a few days, and it calmed down. And I'm like, you know what? I think that big 8-point is going to move. Thanksgiving morning here, and I'm sitting at my house, making my wife use my cell phone to film me on Thanksgiving morning. But long story short, I'm on this big deer I call the Big 8. And I'm trying to talk Melody into letting me not go to Thanksgiving dinner so I can go hunting, because I'm looking at the moon guide and everything is lining up today. We've had all this wind, crazy weather. Today is the first day of the red moon. It's saying right here 2:35 in the afternoon, edge of field. And I already had it in my head that that's what I was going to do. You know, he was going to move today because of the way the weather pattern has been. It's been so windy, and then it's just calm today. A little bit of wind, but basically almost still. So I know these deer are going to move today because they pretty much laid on their bellies all night last night. And even my Spartan cameras, I'm actually just sitting here fooling with a brand new Mossy Oak colored Spartan that they just sent me, one of the newer ones. Checking it out, really awesome, but it just so happens to be sitting here. But anyways, my cameras last night, my Spartans, weren't really zinging, but this morning they're starting to. So, and then with the red moon, everything lining up on the moon guide dial here, I'm not sure what else to say. So I truly believe in the moon guide. I'm going to go by it. I have the app on my phone and I have the dial both. I carry the dial in my pack and whatnot, but it's saying right here 2:35 in the afternoon on the edge of the field. So we're going to give it a shot, and I'm going to get in there and see if I can lay eyes on this big 8, maybe get a shot at him. But I am still hunting the deer called Droop, and it's even harder to say that I've only seen him one time since I started hunting him. This is probably like my 4th or 5th sit now for him, and I know that every time I hunt him it lessens my chances of seeing this deer. Because, they eventually just get on to you, and I don't know if he's on to me yet or not. I'm still getting pictures of him at night. But it's actually Thanksgiving Day today in Ohio. That's how, I don't know if you'd say how ignorant I am or how dedicated I am to trying to get this done. But I didn't get to hunt yesterday because of the high winds. I've had to work and stuff in the, daytime too, so I've only been able to squeeze in when I can. But as bad as it was yesterday weather-wise, it was hammering winds. Like ridiculous. I'm actually surprised this tree stand is still sitting here. It was so bad. But the deer didn't move good at all yesterday because of that. So I'm hoping that today, this evening, they get on their feet and move around because of the way it was yesterday. And they've been feeding in this green field like crazy. It's a crappy green field, but it's a green food source underneath these dead weeds, and they're just hammering it. So I've seen about 20 deer every time I hunt it. And I've seen some nice bucks. I just haven't seen the one of them, I haven't seen Droop. So I'm here, hoping that they're going to move tonight. The deer cast says that it's a great night, great evening. The pressure's 30.3 something, which is great, even though it's overcast and cloudy. That should get them on their feet. They should be feeling good, so we're going to see what happens. And then I'm going to go eat Thanksgiving dinner after dark. I get in the stand. I get in there about 1 o'clock, and 12:30, 1 o'clock, right in there, and that deer comes out into the field following the doe at 2 o'clock. big 8-point's coming down through the field. He's with this doe just like he has been for a couple days, and he's coming right to me. And I'm thinking, you know, I got all the time in the world. I'm just going to take my time and let things unfold. I'm thinking, okay, it's about to happen any second. He's going to just walk down here, and all of a sudden I start hearing a bunch of voices and four-wheelers way off in the distance. And there's an old county road or a dirt road, township road down below the hollow, and it's like 700 yards away. But it was so still and quiet that day that the noise just echoed up through the hollow, and it sounded like they were going to come right up into the field, but I knew they weren't. Long story short, it made that deer nervous, and they turned, and he just walked away. He just turned and went to another area back towards the woods, and he didn't want to be there. And man, I was heartbroken. I was mad at myself because I didn't take the shot, and on video it looks like the deer's at only 25 yards, honestly, but he's not. You can see when I back out that he was 56 yards. And I've made that shot on deer before, but I felt like it was just too risky on a deer of this size. I didn't want to mess it up. And so I just decided to wait. And, you know, I still don't regret it because a lot can happen in that distance with a whitetail.
Unfreaking believable. Bunch of quads going down the side road over here. I mean, and it's a good ways away. Just scared him. The doe that he was kind of hanging with left, and he was just hanging around eating. Problem was he was at like 55, 56 yards. I mean, I can make that shot, but it's kind of windy, and I don't want to have to shoot that far if I don't have to. But I probably should have took it. My rule is you always take the first shot you get. And I didn't take it, and now he walked
So all of a sudden, that big brow tine buck just started showing back up, you know, and these deer were naturally coming to this old field that hadn't been planted. The farmer had planted it into corn, but it didn't make it. We'd had a really wet year last year, and a lot of new grasses and just different things were growing in this field, and there's really no crops in that neighborhood. And so these bucks were just hammering this field. All the does were, and they were just naturally coming to this field. But it's surrounded by hollows, and these deer can come into this field just about anywhere. So I started scattering some big tine in the field, just scattering it around in different places and trying to give these deer, you know, a destination part of this, you know, 15-acre field, so that they would squeeze through this narrower spot of the field as they went out to the other areas of the farm to feed. These deer are naturally coming to this field here in Ohio. They're feeding in this grass. This corn in this field didn't make it this year, and for some reason, when the grass that's come up in it, they are just tearing this up right now. And they feel really comfortable in this big hollow right here. So what I've been doing is I've just been scattering some big tine throughout this field, just in certain areas, just all over. Originally I wasn't baiting at all in here because the deer were just here, but now a little later in the year, now it's December, the grass is starting to really get, you know, a lot more not as palatable, I guess you'd say. And with gun season coming in here in Ohio, I'm trying to do anything I can do to keep these deer safe in this hollow and away from the neighbors, because I'm getting a lot of pressure around. And so the big tine is just a little bit more oomph than like just putting straight corn out or something like that. And in all honesty, I absolutely hate to bait deer or feed deer, but we have to anymore, because in Ohio it's become such an epidemic of people feeding deer that every 10 acres has a corn pile on it. And I mean, it's literally altered the deer movement. If you don't have a food source like feed on your property, you're not going to have deer. One of the things I like to do too is I don't like to pile this like in one spot like this, because it really gets those deer spread out. And those big bucks, you know, they have so much anxiety and pressure anyways that they don't want to be stressed out by having to eat face to face with another big buck, causes fights, just stresses your deer out. Spreading it out like this all over really helps a lot.
Well, I'm sneaking in here to this stand. I got a stand set up on the edge of this field that I've been encountering the big 8-point in. And then I got this other deer called drop tine. So I'm just going to get in this stand and get set up, filming myself tonight. But I just got a real good feeling this deer's going to move tonight. The way everything is, the weather, it's high pressure right now, but there's a front coming in. It's going to get real cloudy. The wind's going to get heavy. And it's like 10 o'clock in the morning right now. I'm going in. But by this afternoon and this evening, it's going to be a total weather change. There's going to be a little bit of flurry of snow, supposedly. So we'll just see what happens. The temperature's dropping fast. That's why I'm dressed up so warm.
You know, 20 minutes before dark, here comes Big Browse right in on this group of does, and he's like, it was a good cold snap. Really got the deer on their feet. You know, it was windy as all heck that night, but the temperature was dropping fast, and the deer had been cold all day, and I knew they were going to want to eat.
In a city full of sounds, I know my way around. We are of the same kind. Endangered species hard to find. I'll give you some lone time. I need to go catch the high tide, 'cause I don't feel free. So I'm letting you know where I want to be. Driving by the shore, listening to a broken radio. Skyline neon lights are waking up the rangers of the night. Designated life.
And I'm in a very small little tree, just kind of blowing around, and I come to full draw, and I'm trying to center my pin where I need to be, and I got it to where I felt like I needed to be, and I released. And as soon as I shot, I see where the arrow hit him, and I'm like, oh. And when I saw where it hit him, I was a little deflated. I watched him, tried to get the camera on him, and I watched him leave the field. And, he ran a good, probably a good 180 yards to the end of the field there and went into the timber. Looked at the footage, and I went to bed a little bit upset, got up the next morning. And I was looking at it again as I was drinking coffee and kind of cleared my mind. And I'm looking at the footage, and I'm like, at the very end of this, it looks like he's losing his wheels. So last night I shot a buck and I hit him a little forward. It was really, really windy last night, and it was only a 25-yard shot, which is a chip shot typically for me, but it was really windy, and I'm in a small tree like this that my stand was in, and I'm just shaking around, and it was really cold last night. It was down to like 15-degree wind chill. And it was late, getting late in the evening there. So it just got I was just stiff and cold, had a lot of clothes on. And I'm guessing with the wind combination of shaking the tree, that's kind of why, because I felt really good when I released, but it just wasn't that great. It wasn't horrible, but it hit him in front of the shoulder, like right in the brisket area. But I know that area right there goes right into the pump house. So I'm sure this deer's dead. I reviewed the footage a lot. I was able to get the camera on him. I was filming myself. I was able to get the camera on him as he was leaving the field. And he made it, probably about 200 yards down this field. But as he got towards the end, I could tell he was losing his wheels. He was getting weak. And his tail was just the signs he was giving me. He was like, this deer's going to die probably. But I didn't want to push it, because I knew as cold as it was going to get last night, I didn't want to fool with the deer at all. So I just decided to leave him alone. We'll come back this morning. I had some work to do this morning anyway, so I just figured I'd come back and we'd just track him up. So I got my son Blaine running the camera now, and we're going to go in here and see if we can find this deer. And I really don't think he's going to be too far, because another doe had come out last night out of this end, and she was blowing and flagging and carrying on like she knew something was wrong. So I'm actually wondering if he didn't die like right then. Put my release on just in case. I'm sure this deer's dead, but you never know. You walk in there, and if he's laying up against a tree and he's still got his head up or something, you want to be prepared to maybe be able to take a shot if you need to. So I'm going to take everything with me just to be safe. I got a Spartan camera right there on that bright colored tree, and I could see where he went to the left of that, and so I know I actually think he ran right past one of my other tree stands in here where I had the first encounter with the big 8. We're about 35 yards from the woods, and we got good blood right here. And it's really getting heavier, which is a good sign. See, it wasn't the greatest shot, I know that, but I got lucky and I missed that leg bone, and I think I got it right in there. Smokes in that. I seriously can't get over all the blood. Like, this absolutely did more damage than I expected it to do, truthfully, for this deer. So I grabbed my son, we ran out to the farm real quick, and wouldn't you know it, we get on blood right there at the end of the field, start following him. He's 30 yards inside the woods, deader than a hammer. He just barely made it out of the woods. As soon as he got out of the field, as soon as he got into the woods, he started plowing leaves. was piled up in a group of logs, and there he was. I couldn't believe it.
He definitely got, I mean, there's no doubt this deer died last night. I mean, I can see him up here right now. My first drop tine buck ever. I've never shot a deer with a drop tine. It's not a huge drop tine, but it's a drop tine, and that's a first is a first. Dude, look at that. Man, that thing just ripped him up in there, didn't it? Wow. Look at those brows on that dude. Look at that, man. That is so cool. Man, what a cool deer. I mean, my first drop tine buck ever. Huge brow tines with junk on them. Just a cool deer. He's a 4.5-year-old buck, pretty sure. Typically, I like to shoot him 5 and older, but it's just one of those things, you know. I got word that I might not be having this farm anymore to be able to hunt as far as a lease, and so there's been some changes going on in the owners, and so that just, you know, that's part of life. And I've really enjoyed this farm for many years, and I really wanted to shoot another deer off this farm to have one more memory, and what a deer to have to end that with. And just a beautiful big old brow tine buck. Passed this deer last year, and I'm not sure what happened to him, but I'm guessing he got wounded by somebody to make his side weaker like this, and then to do this drop like that, because I would have thought he'd have been, you know, even a little bigger from what he was last year. But what a cool deer. Just, you know, a testament to the big tine. You know, it was that time of year after the rut here. It's into the middle of December, and these deer are getting hungry again, and, you know, I knew they were bedded in this hollow, and so I just was, what I started to do before gun season, and then I went to Illinois and hunted a little bit, I was actually just scattering big tine through this field, just all over the place, just getting the deer to come out into it, because they were already naturally feeding in it. And that's how I was getting on that big 8-point that I never ended up getting. I had one opportunity at him at 56 yards, and I elected to pass the shot, and I didn't take it. And I'm not regretful that I did, because I didn't want to make a bad shot. It was really far, and, you know, at that distance, a whitetail can do a lot of stuff. So I just elected to pass that shot, and I never got on him again, never had him close. And I just kept feeding in this field because they wanted to come to the field, to the grass. I wasn't messing with them in this hollow in the bedding area at all. And so they felt comfortable in here, so I just kept feeding it. And the first hunt after I come back from Illinois, I get this guy. He comes into the field looking for does, pushed some does around a little bit, and then he come over and started eating around with all the other deer. And as you can see in the video, I didn't have it piled up. I just scatter it all around. And it makes them feel more natural, and the deer just really like it like that. So what a cool buck, you know, really awesome.
It's a big mature deer with awesome brow tines, with my first drop tine buck ever. So I was ecstatic to kill a deer like that, and, you know, fill my Ohio tag and have a 3-buck season, you know, for Whitetail Edge. And so hey, thanks for watching Whitetail Edge. I hope you enjoyed this hunt. There's just a lot you can take away from this hunt, you know, being on deer this size, and, you know, trying to position yourself where these deer are at. And, you know, the key to this farm, how I've always treated it, is I don't penetrate the timber. You know, I leave these deer alone in these hollows and where they want to bed, and where the does are going to be, that's where the bucks are going to be at certain times of the year. And so that's where I try to concentrate my efforts, or make them deer do what I wanted to do, just like I did in this situation with the big tine. So thanks for watching Whitetail Edge. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, please do so. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Catch us right here again next week.